The 417 Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast.
This is the 417 Gamer Podcast, episode 22, the one with MoonCityCon 2024. In the 4, Andrea and I discuss 4 games we've been playing recently: Istanbul, JamSumo, Qwirkle, and Sand. In the 1 topic of the show, we talk MoonCityCon 2024. How did it go? I think it went pretty well, but we'll give you some more details. And in the 7, we reveal 7 games that we like, starting with the letter B. In this episode, Andrea will talk about her top 7 games, starting with the letter B. Without further ado, the 417 Gamer Podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast. My name's Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
In the 4, we like to discuss 4 games that we've been playing recently. Let's see here. What are we talking about?
Games that start with the letter B.
Oh, that's in the 7, but we're starting with the 4.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. So in the 4 games we've been playing recently, a dexterity game. So when we went to Geekway, we talked about our Crokinole board, and we love that, and we're going to be reviewing Crokinole for the expansion episode.
Yes.
But they also had another dexterity game that they have the license to sell over here.
JamSumo.
JamSumo's amazing. Is it as good as Crokinole? No. But it plays more.
Plays up to 6.
We lost a die, and we talked about that on the last podcast. You found the die, thank goodness.
I did. I am the champion.
You are the champions. What is JamSumo?
Well, which one? Jam or Sumo? It's 2 different games. Played on the same board with the same dice. So you can play them in any order, but the way we do it is we play Jam first, where you are trying to sink your dice into the center hole. It's a dexterity game. You put your dice on a platform and you flick them and you try and get them in the center hole, kind of like Crokinole. And in the Jam part of it, points are bad. So if you can be the first person to go out, meaning you sunk all your dice in the center hole, you have 0 points. And everybody else with dice left, they get points equal to the pips on the dice. Now you start on the platform, all your dice are set to 4s. But as you flick them onto the board, if they don't go in the hole, they can end up as anything from 1 to 6, of course. Mm-hmm. And other people, as they're trying to sink their dice, can knock yours. And if yours gets knocked off, it comes back to your hand as a 4 and you try again. Now, once one person has sunk all their dice, then it's over. Everybody takes their points. We do it to where everyone gets a turn as first player, and then you switch to the sumo port of it. Same board, same setup, except this time you switch all your dice to 3s, and sinking your dice is bad because in this part, points are good. And you, very much like a sumo wrestler, you are required as you flick your dice to hit another person's dice. And if you can knock them off the board, great, because that dice is no longer worth any points. And as I said, points are good. So if you can knock everyone else's, once another player's, all their dice has been knocked off the board, the game is over. They get 0 points, and everyone who is left standing gets points equal to the pips in positive, and then you total up your jam and your sumo points together, and whoever has the most points wins.
Yes. Very fun. The dice they put in there are very nicely colored, although in our set, I think the brown and the red-black are kind of close.
They're hard to tell apart.
We like taking this to friends' houses and to some of our local coffee shops and bars, and in low lighting, those dice are kind of hard to tell apart, but there is no stopping you from buying other dice.
That's true. They're just regular 6-sided dice. One of the pluses about this as opposed to Croconaws. The Croconaw board is huge.
Yes.
The JamSumo board is only 12 inches across. Pop it in the bag, you can take it anywhere. And that is one of the pluses. Another one, like I said, it plays up to 6, although you can play it as just 2, as we have done many times.
Yes, JamSumo is a very, very, very fun game. We got that from Brown Castle Games. After we already bought the Croconaw board, they got a lot of money from us.
Yes. But it was worth it.
Quality games. We love our dexterity games. I already love dexterity games. And then I, grabbed you, and you've already been going down the board game rabbit hole with me. And now I think you like dexterity games almost maybe as much as I do.
I would agree. Like, if I have a choice. I mean, there are some board games that I would choose over Croconaw or JamSumo, but it's a short list.
Well, I said after the convention we were going to call some games. And I've got a stack of 30-plus games that we're kicking out. Mm-hmm. One of them that I was ready to get rid of, Pitch and Plaques, you were not.
Yeah, we need to keep that a little longer.
That's fine. Another game we're going to talk about is Sand. Sand is by DeVere Games. It's a pick up and deliver game. DeVere so far has had quite a few hits with us. We love Red Cathedral. We really like White Castle. Three Ring Circus is really, really... The play we had was fun, and I want to play it a couple more times to see if it stays, or maybe we floated along. But I think Three Ring Circus is a really good game.
It is.
Sand has the unfortunate spot of us playing it after we played Maple Valley. And Maple Valley we were really, really high on.
Yes.
Both games are about you picking up items and delivering them for points or monies, or, it's a pick up and deliver game. And Sand is so obtuse in how you have to do it.
And the boards look very similar. I mean, the paths you take, they almost look like the same setup, themed differently.
Yeah, Sand's art style kind of reminded me of a mix between like Disney and Ghibli.
Yeah.
You're riding your sandworm around the desert, and each round you're going to roll dice, and that is the strength of the dice you're going to be able to use. There's red, white, black, and blue. At the very start of the game, you can only program 3 of those dice. You slide them in their programming, and when you spin them, you can spin them to either move, pick up, interact with the space, or there's another action. I don't think we unlocked. It was the mage, which is one of your followers you can get.
Right. We just played the base game. You have an option to... Everybody has a character with their special power. We did not use that, which I'm glad we didn't, because there was way more than enough going on in this game. Even to ride your worm from place to place, you had to feed him and water him, and
yes, And then he lost some health if you rode him too hard.
Yeah,
because there were different trails.
And if you you make him go through the hard trail, he loses health points, and there was a lot going on in this game. It's definitely not a entry level game.
No.
Whereas Maple Valley, it was probably.
If
mid-weight.
I wouldn't bring a brand newbie, but if somebody had gamed enough Maple Valley, bring them right in.
Sure, but this one, Sand, I wouldn't recommend that. There's too much going on. Too much to remember. Too much to keep track of.
I think it's an interesting design. I want one more play, but I want the one more play with the characters to see if the powers,
right,
spice it up enough. I kind of have a feeling that I don't know that it's going to spice it up enough for me.
It wasn't a bad game by any means, but it was literally, we played Maple Valley and then we played Sand and was like, whoa. It's like there was, Maple Valley was streamlined. Sand had all these extra little things you had to keep track of that I didn't think were necessarily necessary.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had played them in reverse order, Sand first, Maple Valley second, I would feel differently.
I don't know that I would. It feels like Sand is... So there's some different game designers that talk about simplifying the design. You have a whole bunch of ideas, and you take out the extra fluff to get down to a streamlined design that is fun, works smooth, and gets people into the game. It felt to me, and that's... I've played other pick up and deliver games. Like, there's some really, really cool ideas, and they wanted to throw them all in there. But when we were done, I didn't feel like, oh man, I really want to play this again, and I'd play it again right now. Like Maple Valley, as soon as we were done, I would have potentially, not the 5-player, but the 3-player game, I would have played that again.
Sure.
Sand, after playing 3 players, is like, this can go back in its box for a day or two before I want to pull this back out.
And we played took us 3.5 hours.
Yeah, but that was with setup and us trying to eat off to the side.
And the teach.
And you have to teach everything. And that's another thing. The rule book's a little bit rough because all of the actions are in the back of the book. And it tells you. There's a warning like, hey, this is the best way that we feel to teach this game. All the action spaces, all this, that, the other. But the actions to interact with all this is in the back of the book. So go to page 11 or 19 or whatever it was to get the actions. And for me, that bugged the crap out of me. I'm like, why? Why are you going to teach me the basic way to interact with your game at the very end? I don't know. It felt like cart and horse.
Right.
But that was me.
I hope that we're not putting anyone off of this game, but just know going into it, the teach is not easy. The game is not easy. But if you're looking for a game that challenges you on multiple levels, maybe this one's for you.
With nice art.
Yeah, the art was good. The quality of the game, I can't complain about.
No.
And like I said, I hope I'm not putting anyone off of this game. It just, for us, was a little much.
And it does the same thing that the White Castle does with the trackers. You've got cubes that insert in your board, and I do like that touch on games where, Terraforming Mars, if you play with the base maps, they're just flat cardboard or flat paper.
And your cubes slide around.
And your cubes slide everywhere. That is not the case. These are nice, thick player boards. Your cubes sit in there.
Yeah.
And you have to pull them out and advance them or devance them to send your tracks.
Yeah.
That's 2 games. Let's go for a third. What else?
Oh, yes. We played Qwirkle. And if you've never heard of Qwirkle, I had not. It is a light family weight game where you have really nice chunky tiles. And they're almost thicker than dominoes, I'd say.
Yeah, they're nice wooden tiles.
Yeah, and they have both shapes and colors, and in a domino style fashion laid out on a grid, you have to match either the color or the shape, but not both. And if you can do finish a row of 6 tiles, where that means you've had one of every color or one of every shape, you Qwirkle, and you get bonus points for that. It is just I don't know if it's necessarily quick. It took us almost an hour. We were doing a 4-player game. But we have played this a couple times now, and we still like it. It's not...
It's a brain bender. It's a brain burner.
It's a puzzle.
It's not hard. It's one of those games where it's easy rule set, hard to master.
Yes.
And it's going to be very much on the group that you play with, and you're going to have some metas. Some people are going to fixate more on the color than the pattern, and some people are going to focus more on the pattern than the color.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, whenever you're playing your tiles, you get points for however many was in that column that you played in, or row, or however it is.
Yeah.
And if you finish the 6th, because there's up to 6 colors or 6 shapes, you put the 6 on there, you not only get 6 points for it, but since you Qwirkle, you double.
Right.
But
it's a nice, light, family weight game that is, I would definitely recommend for anyone who likes puzzle games. I think that, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. Basically, you've just got a draw bag full of your chunky tiles, and you pass the bag around, draw back up, after you've played your tiles. I'm glad we have it, and I definitely think we should keep it.
So we got it on the used shelf at a friendly local game store. And we originally played this, I want to say, a month or two back. Mm-hmm. And as we played, we realized we were missing like 3 or 4 tiles. Mm-hmm. And our friend was like, no, we need to get you a new copy. And I was like, no, we were fine. We'll probably pick up another copy. Well, he not only got us a copy, he got them a copy, him and his wife.
Because they liked it too.
They liked it that much.
And they're gamers.
They are gamers. One of them owns our game store.
So for a bunch of gamers to enjoy a simpler, tile laying game, it says a lot for it.
I think so. And this is designed by Susan McKinney. There's not a whole bunch of prominent female designers. This has won so many awards. It's a Mensa award winner. But this came out right before the big board game boom that's been happening in the last probably 7 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. This came out in... Come on, Board Game Geek. Came out in 2006. Yeah. So it's coming upon 20 years old.
Wow. Well, it's still popular, though.
Yes.
Still available.
Let's see here. Does it give me
Not a lot of 20-year-old games are still on the shelf.
So the game is rated for 6+. But I think that's more of a toy factor toward choking hazards because they are big, chunky blocks. Mm-hmm. I don't know. If you know your 6-year-old, you could probably get them to play this with patterns and colors, especially learning how to count because the highest column or row by itself is a 12. Mm-hmm. But if you can put it in such a way that you're building off of a row, but you snapped it onto a column, you could get points for going multiple ways.
Sure.
So, yeah. The last game we're going to talk about is Istanbul. So,
another older game.
Yes. This, come on. I have my computer going.
We play this pretty often, actually. We don't play it like once a month or anything, but we pull it out several times a year. Mm-hmm. And I still see it come out quite regularly at our game nights. Other people have it and they'll bring it and they'll play it. I saw it played several times at MoonCityCon.
Yeah.
Our game has the coffee expansion. And there's another expansion.
Letter and Seals. I still have not played that. And probably the next time we play it, I'll try and pop it out.
Right.
So the first expansion is Mocha and Bakshish, which changes your board from a 4x4 grid to a 4x5. It opens it up a bit more, and it makes another viable path to try and get rubies. So Istanbul is a game in which you are all... you're kind of nobles, or you're merchants, and you're going around the various stalls in the bazaar in Istanbul, but you are not allowed to dirty your hands by going into these stalls, so you drop off your workers to go in there and do business for you.
Yeah.
So you have a stack of 4 workers to start, I think it is. You can earn a 5th while you're playing, but as you're going around, you take your full stack and you either drop a worker to take an action, or you pick a worker up to take an action. And these actions are to either get goods, gamble for jewelry or money, break your cousin out of jail, go to the post office and pick up whatever's posted, go to the smaller large markets to sell goods for monies, or go to the gem dealer or the, I think it's the Sultan's Palace, to give goods or money to gain rubies. the goal of the base game is the first person to get 5 rubies wins. And once you get the expansion Mocha and Bakshish, you play to 6 rubies. Mocha and Bakshish brings in the roaster, the coffee house, and something else. Mm-hmm. And the coffee dealer is another way for you to get rubies by exchanging coffee. Mm-hmm. Plus, it brings out guild cards. You have you already have one tile that gives you power-up cards that are nice, but they're not amazing. The guild cards, you go there and you pick up cards, and whenever you play those, they take the part of a turn. And they generally are a slightly better version of an action you can do somewhere out on the board.
I was using every one I got.
Yeah.
And I actually won.
You did.
And I think it was because of these cards that I won. Normally when we play the base game, you generally win. But I was able to use them as a path to victory.
Yeah. And you played the short game really well.
I did.
Generally in Istanbul, a lot of people will either play the long game, they will go to the tile called the Wainwright. And this is what I did, to go pay $7 to put a slat in your cart. You have, whenever you first start, you have a meager cart that has 2 spots to hold whatever you can. Spices, fabrics, fruits, and jewelry. To be able to hold more, you have to go to the Wainwright to add onto your cart. You can add on 3 more slats to max out at 5 spaces to hold stuff. If you max out your cart, the Wainwright is so impressed he gives you a ruby, especially since you spent so much money fixing your cart with him. For such a good customer, he gives you a ruby. But once you get that, whenever you go to any of the trading houses, or the spice warehouse, the fruit warehouse, or the fabric warehouse, you max out what you're able to carry whenever you go to one of those. You don't have to pay any money, you just go do it. Mm-hmm. When you have a max cart, you're holding a whole lot more than at the start of the game when you're only able to hold 2.
Yes.
So that's the long game, because now you can go get a whole bunch of stuff, but by that time, people have gone to the gem dealer and the Sultan's Palace and have whittled away those tracks, because each time a gem is taken off of those, the next person to come in has to pay a little bit more. Really like this game. It came out in 2014. It was designed by Rudiger Dorn. It's published by AEG. So 2014 was the year that, while I do like Istanbul, I still think Concordia should have won the Kenner Spiel des Jahres. And the Spiel des Jahres was Splendor, and it lost to Camel Up. And I think that was wrong, too. I think Marc-Andre got robbed. Splendor... We're on our 3rd different copy of 3 different editions of Splendor.
We are.
And I have the 2nd edition of Camel Up as well, but the only reason why I have that is because I found it on the used shelf at our friendly local game store. Mm-hmm. And my first copy of Camel Up has seen better days. It made it through 4 MoonCityCons, and there are some missing coins and some tiles. So when I saw the 2nd edition come out, I'm like, all right, I still kind of feel like Camel Up should have been in the collection. But now that a couple other people in the group have it, again, I don't feel we need it. But we have to have a Splendor in our collection.
Yes.
I don't care if it's Marvel base or the Korean Pokemon import. Mm-hmm. We need a Splendor. But back to Istanbul. Istanbul, excellent, I would say, next step game. If you've played the Gateway, Ticket to Rides, Carcassonne, and Splendors, a great next step game is Istanbul. Especially play the base game 3 to 5 times if you start tiring a little bit. Mm-hmm. Get Mocha and Bakshish, or heck, just spring for the big box and play it at your leisure. Play the base and start throwing in the expansions as you wish. So those were the 4 games that we've been enjoying recently. JamSumo, Qwirkle, Istanbul, and what else did we talk about? Oh, Sand. Yeah, sorry, Sand.
Yeah.
I like you as a friend.
But you're not in love.
I'm not in love with Sand.
Understood.
What are we going to do next?
I think we should do the 7.
Can we do the topic of the show?
Okay.
MoonCityCon was pretty good.
Yes.
All right, let's do the topic of the episode, the one in the 417 Gamers, which will be MoonCityCon. The one in the 417 Gamer podcast is our topic of the show, and we are talking about
MoonCityCon
2024. So, our head count, if I understand right, was 174. It's either 173 or 174. It's one of our largest to date.
Mm-hmm. We had a lot of people. You did a poll at the closing ceremonies, and there were a lot of people who raised their hand when you said, who's the first time to MoonCityCon?
Yeah, there was at least 20.
I was surprised.
Maybe 30.
Yeah. New faces.
Love seeing the new faces. Love seeing the old faces. There was probably a couple, I would say it was at least 20, 30 that held their hand up for being there, every single one. And we love you guys too.
Yeah.
So.
Really good turnout. Really good prize pool. We had a couple new vendors this year.
Yeah, Dragon Phoenix Games.
Mm-hmm.
They came up from Texas. They had Storm Dragons, built in a day.
And they were designers and publishers.
Yeah, they're small publishers down in Texas. And I love that they took a risk and came out and said, side with us. They gave some of their games to put in our library, and those will be in the MoonCityCon library going forward.
Yeah, that was nice.
And you got the Storm Dragons because dragons.
And the art was really good.
Yeah.
I'm very picky on my dragon art. And because sometimes they look,
Derpy?
I don't know, derpy. Yeah. These were
Derpy,
good,
the
powerful
dragon.
dragons.
With the derpy, derp, derp, derp.
So, no, we filled the place.
Yeah.
I mean, next year, if it is held in the same location again at the Hilton Garden Inn, we're going to have to figure out a way to get more tables out.
Well, and that's something we're going to have to make some policies. Because some people spread out. And so Friday, over 80% checked in.
In the first 2 hours.
Yes, in the first 2 hours. Yeah, not just Friday, just by Friday night. Friday, in the first 2 hours, over 80% of our head count had been checked in.
That was wonderful.
Yep.
We hit the ground running full blast.
Yeah, Thursday we started setup. I changed some stuff for the vendor area to make a little room. Then you and I started, they said that they were out of long tables, which we always exhaust their long tables. And we noticed there was still some rounds and some chairs.
And we Tetris the heck out of that place to get as many tables in as we can.
And I think we added another 25 to 30 seats, and we needed them.
We did. We had such a great group that understood. I mean, we made some really long tables, and, we'd see 2 or 3 games going on the same table. And just very much like at Geekway. Now, Geekway, if you've never been, they put tables end to end across the whole convention area.
Yep.
So it's just one giant long table. So you're just sitting next to other gamers, and I like that format.
I do too, because I think it encourages people to look over shoulders and talk.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't necessarily link up for a game,
right?
Hopefully it brings into some of the social abilities. Mm-hmm. Because just in life, there's a lot of introverted people that might not necessarily feel comfortable to walk up to people that are playing a game and talk to them.
Right.
But if they're sitting right next there, your
can
what's
lean over
that kind of starts firing.
And we also have the little signs that say player wanted, teachers wanted, which helps people interact with each other. We had over 250 games in the checkout library. We also had our play to wins, which were popping off the shelves. There were people waiting. They'd be like, "Are you almost done? You going to go check that back in?" And they'd follow them back up and check it right back out, as soon as it got checked in. So we had trouble keeping them on the shelf.
Yeah.
And
some people were followed.
Yes.
You're like, Are you checking that in? Can I follow you? Yeah. It's not creepy. I just want your game.
Wormspan was just bouncing right off the shelf every time it came back in.
Footprints from Chill Fox Games. Mm-hmm. That was one that got checked out a lot. And it was touted by Catherine, and rightfully so. It's got a little bit of a race mechanism in there. It's got a little bit of set collection in there. Mm-hmm. And everybody that played that game enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What else did we have? We had Botany, which was gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Nice art, nice board. We had Libertalia, Winds of Galcrest.
Cosmoctopus.
Which
had
title.
A funny name and a beautiful art on the cover. But we didn't just have those for the play to win. We also had some tournaments, and we had...
Oh, shout out to David. He's been on our podcast. Him and Board Game Famous got us First in Flight and Ecosystem Savannah from Genius Games. So thank you to Genius Games. Thank you to Board Game Famous.
Yeah.
But yeah, we played some tournaments. You taught some crokinole.
I did teach crokinole, and it was a pretty big hit, actually.
Yeah. You were like, I'm going to go teach this for like 20, 30 minutes. I think you were there for like 2 hours.
It was. I was there for over 2 hours because people kept coming up. Yeah. It's such an eye-catching game. Like I said, the board's huge. It's 3 feet across. Well, maybe not that far. It looks like it. It's heavy. Big, heavy board. But I had the rule book laying out, and on there it says it was invented in 1820, and people were like, is that right? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is.
It's right there on the sheet of paper.
If you read it on a paper, it must be true.
That, and I'm just reading the paper to you.
But, yeah, and then we did the Commander tournament taught by Ben.
Yep.
And we had, you did Pitch
Car and
Battling Tops, 2 dexterity games that you love.
Catherine ran an Applejack tournament. She usually runs a tournament on one day. Mm-hmm. Instead, because she had a lot of people that were wanting to play Applejack, she did 4 qualifiers, like 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then the finals was on Sunday. And Uwe Rosenberg does a lot of kind of heavier Euro games. A Feast for Odin, Newsfjord, Agricola, Caverna. He does some lighter stuff too, because we like our Bonanza. But Applejack is kind of a midweight.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of Uwe fans in our group, and so Catherine is one of them. And she's like, Applejack's good. Let's do that. So I was like, all right, by all means, do your thing. She did it, and I think she ran it really well.
Mm-hmm. So she also taught it before the tournament. All of our tournaments, you don't have to be a pro at before you come to the tournament.
Except for Battling Tops.
Oh, no. It can't be your first time. Because we do a teach, before we go in. So you don't have to feel like you're an expert or anything. I think the overall very well-rounded convention, lots of door prizes that we gave away.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody won something. If you came, you won something. We had everything from mugs filled with candy all the way up to brand new sealed board games. Oh, yeah. So I'm really tickled at how well it went.
Back to some of the new vendors. Sterling Makes came out. Mm-hmm. He's a woodworker. We got a dice tower off of him.
We did. It's beautiful.
He has dice coliseums. They're a very overproduced, ornate dice tray. And I don't mean overproduced as in you don't need this.
Oh, they're so
It's
pretty.
gorgeous, and if you want a centerpiece for your table for your RPG nights, that is absolutely a gorgeous option.
It's a mini coliseum with the steps and everything. So when you roll your dice out, they roll down the steps into the center of the gladiator arena, and that's what your dice are.
Yep. And then he also makes really nice, ornate dice towers, which we wanted. Mm-hmm. He had them in pine, and I was like, "Can you make them? Do you make them in a darker wood?" And he goes, "I can, but you're like the 4th person that's asked me that. Why? Mm-hmm. Why not these?" So it didn't go with our house. Our house has darker woods. Mm-hmm. So he made cedar.
Yeah.
And the cedar came out dark like our coffee table. Mm-hmm. We're pretty darn close anyway.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. The swirls in the wood. Love it.
And we talked about sand. One thing we didn't mention is it has big chunky dice. And those chunky dice rolled down the tower just fine.
They sure did.
They're not gigantic, but they are big chunky dice. Ye Old Lasersmith was there. He's been at, I think, almost all of our conventions.
Everyone, as has metagames.
But I was talking about centerpieces. We got Ye Old Lasersmith made us a giant D20 to put in the middle of our table.
Yeah, it's like 20 inches across.
Kate from Hedgecraft, she was back. She's been at all of ours too. She makes 3D printed, hand knitted, and some other stuff too.
She had miniatures as well this year.
They've dove into the miniatures game for RPGs. So if you're looking for a specific type of ghoul or knight or whatever, Hedgecrafts on Etsy, or go on Facebook and I'll link you over. You can see some of the 3D printed miniatures that they got to offer. You got one of her articulating dragon pins to put on your con badge. Yeah,
it fit on my lanyard perfectly. So I had a little buddy.
Yep. Jewel of the Nerd. So Jewel of the Nerd was, they have nerdy jewelry, but at the same time, their daughter does like Frankenbears.
Yeah.
Where she takes stuffed animals that aren't played with anymore, cleans them up,
repurposes
them by Frankensteining together something.
She'll either make like hollow them out and make a purse out of it, or she made an owl bear.
Took the head of the owl off and put it onto a bear body.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's clever. Yeah. And it's perfect for our audience.
Absolutely. Village Meeple.
Village Meeple was there. They celebrated their 1-year anniversary. Jess was over there taking people by the hand, teaching them a game, and then going right back to her booth and selling them that game. And she was...
Well, they didn't just have board games. They have everything. They have gaming mats and clothing. They have, nerdy shirts and little...
stickers and tchotchkes.
Accoutrements that go along with the board games. Not that there's anything wrong with selling board games, because that's why we're all there.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see some of the other nerdy stuff that comes along with it.
Tremendicon was there. Good seeing David.
Yes.
And he was able to calm down from Tremendicon, and we grabbed him right when he was in the middle of all of his chaos. And once again, thanks for coming on whenever you did. And we'd love to have you on for a full episode, and we'll talk up games and all that stuff.
And I think Tremendicon is a good fit for us because they focus on creators. And having the other board gamers there, it always surprises me, when we say, who out there has had an idea for a board game. I'm surprised how many people have.
Yeah.
And they just need that assistance to be hooked up with someone who can help produce that board game. And that's what they do. They hook you up with people in the industry.
Wham Wham Games down from St. Louis. Not only did Wham Wham have a booth, but I think they also had a seminar where they talked about designing and publishing.
Yes.
And Phil and Jake from Wham Wham Games are awesome. They both popped in on our podcast.
Yeah.
For episode, I think it was 21, the expansion one, talked about their favorite games. The other one enjoyed our 4 and our 1 topic of the episode. And like you said, David talked about Tremendicon. They don't just want somebody to come there and have a panel.
Yeah.
They want somebody that shares their passion and shares it with the attendees. And it's a slant that I didn't understand until I saw it. And when you see it, you understand it's in it when it's in practice right in front of you. You're like, oh, okay, I get it more. And it's something that you do need to see to understand where they're coming from. Because their slogan the original slogan that I heard was by creators for creators. I was like, well, that almost sounds gatekeepery, but that's not what they're meaning. What they mean is, we want to show you. All this stuff is awesome. Do you want to do it too? I'll show you.
Yeah.
If you just want to watch, by all means, come out and watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I love this, and if you love it, I want to show you how to love it more.
Yes.
And I think they do an excellent job on
They
that.
do.
And then Metagames. Metagames has been here for well over 25 years now. They get a double booth every year.
I think they had almost 100 games for sale.
I think so, and they had, I want to say 10 to 15 copies of Chicken.
Sold out.
It's from that. I think it's from the same publisher that did Lacuna.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicken, both Jeremy and Seth were demoing the crap out of Chicken,
Mm-hmm.
so much so that it was gone.
Yeah, sold out.
And then I think it was Carl that was left on the Sunday. He came in, not saying Carl's the least, he is absolutely not. But when he came in there, he had no chickens, and people kept on asking him where Chicken was.
Because everybody saw it, and they're like, hey, I want to play that. I want one of those.
I want to play a chicken, or I'll buy a chicken. Carl sold him the demo copy of the chicken just to, sate somebody's taste for the chicken. And then I think they darn near sold out of their Lacuna.
They did.
And then they sold the other games too.
Right, the heaviers.
But yeah, they were hawking some chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you to our vendors once again: Ye Old Lasersmith, Tremendicon, Village Meeple, Jewel of the Nerds, Sterling Makes, Metagames Unlimited, Hedgecraft, and Dragon Phoenix Games. Mm-hmm. We absolutely appreciate you. And thank you to all of our volunteers. I hope I don't miss anything. We had Elle, we had Mel, we had Josh, we had Jen, and we had Daniel. Also, my family came in and helped us load up and set up and then tear down. My dad David and my sister Wendy. Thank you very much. And Daniel's girlfriend Shauna.
Mm-hmm.
She came in and helped pack up boxes. Thank you very much.
Because we were all wiped out.
We are after running a convention and getting up, going to bed late, getting up in the morning.
Early.
Yeah, whenever you're tearing that down, you're like, oh, this is terrible. But, all right, you've been wanting to get to this segment. What are we gonna do?
I think it's time for the B games.
All right, let's do some B games. The 7 in the 417 Gamers is our 7 in a category. Andrea, what's the 7?
B games.
Games starting with the letter B.
Not the insect.
No, not bees.
Zzz.
Andrea, we're going to go, in this episode, we're going to go with your 7 B games, and the expansion will touch base on mine.
Okay.
Which one would you like to talk about first, Miss Andrea?
My number 7 is Big Dig.
Big Dig is designed by Sean Gramman, Scott Huntington, and published by Tasty Minstrel Games. Andrea, what is Big Dig?
Well, you have... What is there a name for a game where you are coloring in squares on a grid?
It's kind of in the roll and write family, but this is, I think they kind of coined this as a flip and fill.
Okay. You'll flip over a card with a Tetris style piece on it. Mm-hmm. And then you color in the appropriate pieces on a grid. Well, your grid is like a map. And on the map, there are obstacles like rocks or what else would you call? What are those?
Some of it's just dirt you're trying to excavate, but there's rocks that are impenetrable. There's also different features that you might want to try and excavate all around to quote-unquote collect.
Sure. I like it because it's quick, easy, and simple.
Yep.
And I don't know that I've ever played a game with the Tetris-style pieces that I haven't liked.
Yeah. So, in this one, you flip out different goals, and sometimes you're trying to excavate the green crystals. Sometimes you are trying to dig a ditch from the water tower to the well or the underground water reserve down below. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're trying to dig the oil derrick all the way down to the oil reserve. And sometimes you're just trying to go for points. But yeah, it's a fun little game.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a small card box. It fits pretty well in our plastic case. It has all of our card games in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, big dig, good pick.
Yeah.
Number 6.
6 is Beacon Patrol. Now, we have talked about Beacon Patrol on our podcast in the past. I believe we did a feature on it.
Yeah, because I love that game. Beacon Patrol is designed by Torben Ratzlaff, also the artist, and is published by Pandasaurus Games. Real quick, elevator pitch. What's Beacon Patrol?
It's a tile laying game. Mm-hmm. You have a stack of tiles. You flip them up, and you are trying to connect the water spaces to water spaces, land spaces to land spaces. And if you can completely surround tiles that have a buoy on them or a lighthouse, you get extra points. It is cooperative. Mm-hmm. And I like that about it because there aren't a lot of cooperative games for 2 players, I feel like.
Not that we enjoy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's the Horrifies, there's the Pandemics, Forbidden Island, but we really don't enjoy those. And even, like, the game and the mind, the game is okay at 2, but it really plays better at 3 and 4, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But Beacon Patrol, you and I can play that, in between choring on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. Gotta wash the clothes, gotta clean up the room, gotta...
And we played it while we were on vacation next to the ocean, so it was very meta playing it.
It was. Number 5.
Bonanza. Yes. Or Bohanzas. I'm not even sure that's how you pronounce it.
It's German, but yeah, it's Bonanza. Designed by Uwe Rosenberg, published by Amigo Games and many, many other publishers. The artist, I think, is Frederick Bertrand, Clemens Franz, and many others, because there's been different editions of Bonanza. Yeah. There's also a new one that is Dahlia, a Bonanza game where you're doing flowers, and it takes out the humorful beans. And when you first play it, you're like, these beans don't matter. But then when you see the flowers, you go, those beans mattered.
It's a card game, set collection. And what makes this interesting for me is the player interactions. No 2 games of this are going to be the same depending on the other players and their personalities, because you're trading cards with other people and you can be very serious about it. You can be very fun about it. The beans have funny names like the stink beans, and then you have the chili beans and the red beans and
coffee.
So yeah, obviously the person who has collected the most high value sets wins, but it's the player interaction that really makes this game fun for me.
Number 4.
Bad Company.
Bad Company is designed by Kenneth Mendler, Christian Oddman Otsby, and Ela Svensson. It was published by Aporta Games. What's Bad Company?
You're criminals, and you're on the run from the cops. And you have to stay one step ahead of the police car in your little car as you flee from the crime scene.
Yeah.
And, you have to stay ahead of the little cop car, otherwise you lose points. It's really fun.
And you have different little heists you need to go do.
Mm-hmm.
Each round, dice are rolled. The active player, they choose if they want to keep that or potentially re-roll it, but then everybody gets to use their dice and activate their different Bad Company guys.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're going, you can upgrade your Bad Company guys, and you lay these cards over what your previous worker is, and it just looks like they're getting taller, but they also get more abilities. So you might have a guy that's got gloves for grabbing things and not leaving fingerprints. Mm-hmm. You might have one guy that's got lock-picking abilities, another person that's really good at driving to make your car go a little further each time.
Yeah.
It's a fun little game. What does that bring us to? Number 3?
3 is Boop. Now, there are currently two versions of Boop. There's regular Boop, and then there's Boop, which is the Halloween version, where there are ghost kitties. And soon to come is the Christmas version.
Boop the Halls! Designed by Scott Brady and published by Smirk and Dagger Games.
It's just a cute little 2-player game where it's on a grid like chess or checkers, and you're trying to get your 3 little either kittens or cats in 3 in a row, either diagonally or up and down. And once you've done that with the kittens, they upgrade to a regular cat. The booping comes in, whereas when you bring in a new kitten and put them down on the bed, or a cat, they boop the ones around it. They bounce them a space away. So you're trying to calculate on where you're going to get booped to.
But if you're on the edge of the board, what
happens? You get booped off the bed.
You get booped off the bed.
And you have to come back.
And then boop. You have ghost kitties. That you get one ghost kitty of your color, and he just kind of drifts along the bed, and he boops every round.
Mm-hmm.
For good and bad. Number 2.
Bus. Now, Bus is an older game, isn't it?
It is. It originally came out in... I had it. I think 99.
Wow, it's that old.
Yeah. The copy we played is the reprint from Capstone Games. Bus is one of the older Splotter games.
Mm-hmm.
Splotter is a designer in Germany. They make very tightly designed games.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, they would do one print run of a game. The game would be... a lot of people thought it was expensive for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd wait until the next year for their next game. And these people have regular day jobs. I think they're very, very mathematically minded. But each year they put out a game, and up until the last 5 to 7 years, you would see them put out one game, and the people that love their games.
Yeah.
Until they hit Food Chain Magnate, which is something we haven't talked about yet. But Food Chain Magnate kind of blew up to where the fervor for it was so strong that it got an immediate reprint. And then they made enough on that to where they started reprinting some of their old favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the games, Capstone, tried to go back and grab Bus. And through their partnership and agreement, they are printing, I think it's called Bus the Complete Edition.
Really?
It's got, I think they perked up the art and all the components. But what's Bus?
Well, you have buses in Bus. And you make your bus route around town. You go down the streets. You pick up people, and then you take them places.
You do. Where do you take them?
You either take them to work, you take them home, or you take them to the pub.
Yes. And it's not their home.
It's any home.
It's whatever home's close to them. And I always love that story in the game where these people just have to go to a work. They don't necessarily have an assigned work, and they don't necessarily have an assigned pub. So if your bus route can take them to a closer pub, they'll take your bus route.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to engineer your bus route to where they'll take your bus line to go get them some victuals and some,
some fish and
libations
chips and some beer.
Yeah. And then when they're done with that, so it's like morning, evening, night. Morning, you go to work. Evening, you go get some beer and some food. And at night, you go sleepy. And
you just stumble to any house that the bus will take you to.
Yeah. So you're competing with your bus lines. But the cool part is it's worker placement-ish where you've got tokens that you put on this planning board. And spaces are finite. But the order of operations when they act, you might plan to place bus routes or plan to move people at a certain time or what have you. But once they start running through, your planning might go awry. On top of that, there are time tokens, which in the games we've played, I think every game somebody's at least hazarded one time token.
Mm-hmm.
But on occasion, I think somebody hazarded like 2 or 3. What the time token does, it either freezes time to where you stay within that hour, or it bumps it ahead. So instead of getting an hour work and going to the bar, it's just going to go straight to bed.
We've all done it.
We've all done it. Yeah, good pick. But that was your number 2. It brings us to number 1.
Bark Avenue.
Yeah, this one's Catherine's fault.
It is.
This is published by Terradice Games, designed by Mackenzie and Jonathan Junk. She got this. I think she kickstarted it, and she got her dog Frankie in there.
What's really cool about this game is that all of the cards with all of the dogs are real people's dogs.
And rescues.
And they, when they were doing the Kickstarter, you sent in, your breed and the name of the dog. So every dog name in there is a real name. I think that's adorable. You've got a neighborhood is your board, and it's downtown New York City.
Yeah.
Basically, and there's a park in the middle, and
you're a dog walker.
And you're a dog walker, and you're trying to fulfill your dog's needs. Whether some dogs owners may want you to take pictures, or some just want to chase a ball or get a treat, or the little tokens in this game are really cool. You've got to have them make a number 1 and a number 2 while you're walking them, because that's why you take dogs for walks, right? And the little number 2s are little squishy poos, and I think it's just hilarious.
So, and then on the dog, it tells how many rounds, which is how many hours they need to be walked.
Yeah, if it's a big dog.
Yeah, big dog needs 5 hours. Little dog, 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the medium dog somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And there's a little tracker. You move your little token up, and then when it's done, it flips over, and it's ready to go home.
And then you got to take them back home again.
Yeah, you do.
And some dogs like to be walked by themselves. Some like other dogs, and they want to be walked in groups. A lot of thought went into this game, and I really appreciate that.
Another cute thing is there's a die that you roll to start.
Yeah.
To find out if they did business, number 1 or number 2.
Uh-huh.
Or if they got distracted by a bird or a squirrel.
Squirrel. It's a cute game.
Thank you for Catherine for introducing this game to us. If we find it in the wild, we probably will pick it up.
And if they do a reprint, I'm getting a berry card in there.
Yeah. See if you can pay them extra money. Hey, make me a berry card, please.
An expansion.
Yeah. Kickstart the expansion. More doggos.
Yeah.
Andrew, that was your 7. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the expansion where I talked about my 7B games. And I'm going to go through my list, and I'm going to kick out the ones that we have doubled up, and I'm going to have 7 newbie games.
Woohoo! Newbie games.
Newbie games.
But not newbie games.
You don't know. There might be some newbie games.
There might be.
We'll talk about 4 things that we're looking forward to or enjoying in the 417 Gamer area. And then for the topic of the show, I think we should review something.
Yeah, I got a few. I got one idea.
Well, it's been something we've been talking the crap out of. And if we've already played it enough and talked about it enough, why don't we review it? What game? Crokinole. We're going to review our Brown Castle Crokinole board and game,
and then you'll want one. They'll want one.
Like it.
Because they should get one.
But we'll see you on the
awesome.
20th. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The 417 Gamer podcast is recorded and produced by Rick Bagwell and Andrea Smith. The music we use, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and Making Up for Lost Time, was created by Origami Replica. For links to our show notes and all the other stuff, go to our Facebook page at the Hobby Gaming Network. Also, if you're watching our stuff on YouTube, the 417 Gamer page, we usually have the show notes down there. If you want to play games, come on out to the 417 Gamers. Check us out on Facebook. We're in Southwest Missouri. We play all the games. But until we see you next time, keep gaming in the 417.